Leo, ehani ki he, pejuta ka pejiwan ki he, oyaki ki he, ibikta chahe ongya ki. Kawo pe wakan ki he, wakue ehana ki he, comes from a seed. And the seed was grown from the seasons and the cycles of the earth. Within these seasons and cycles, there's patterns. There's patterns of growth and decay to sustain the balance of creation. In the Dakota way of life, we are taught of our existence from the nature. Our languages, our songs, our dances, our ceremonies, our food and our medicine all come from the nature. Why it is that way comes the dream of life. The Dakota people had to learn to live in balance, to sustain their place among creation. And by doing that, they had to be very observant, and they had to pay attention to the changes that were constantly happening around them. But as they began to grow and develop, they acknowledged these changes and understood them as instructions, as laws. And then this emphasized and created the philosophy and the perspective of the Dakota people. Being first, that we are spirit. Spirit, seed, woman, man, purpose, destiny. It's the cycle that we move and abide by as a person of creation. In the old Indian way, the Indian in his life, he seeks a vision. He asks, why am I here? What is my purpose? They say it is difficult to be an Indian in today's time, and not in the sense of the displacement in the history of what has happened and occurred to the American Indian people, but the traditional, original way of the Indian. The framework of the mind and the perspective is different than the moving world that is of our reality now. Because the source of who we are as human beings, again, comes from the nature. Nature taught us when to hunt, when to plant, when to harvest, when to burn, and when to move. The human being's natural place is to always be in movement. Movement is the first language that we are given. And it is in this language that we make our mark here upon the earth. So, understanding this, that so long ago, all of life was shared, and there was respected spaces and places for everything, for the human, for the buffalo, for the horses, for the deer, the elk, the lions, the bears, the wolves, for the sage, the cedar, the berries, the trees, and so on and so forth. The purpose is to honor this understanding, our place. What is our place? We are born into a habitat that is against our nature, which is why we struggle. It is why we struggle with the internal conflicts within ourselves. But to understand your true meaning, go there, to the water. Go there to the trees and be still. For at one time it was a heaven. So there's pieces there that can help you to find your way back and to reconnect. I have a vision. And this vision comes from the instructions of our ceremonies. For you see, as Dakota people, we still have our connection. We still have the message and the voice. And these ceremonies have instructed us on how to behave. What we should put first in our lives. How we should eat. When we should eat. How we conduct ourselves. And with all that comes the values of how we treat one another, of how we treat other creation, of how we treat the spaces that we occupy and the things that we touch and hold. For we understand this, and it has been proven now. But our people have always understood that this world is full of energy, what we at one time called spirit, now just energy. It is not hocus pocus, but it is just as real as watching a seed grow into a plant, into the stem, to the leaf, to the bud. From the seed growing into the egg to making the human. It is not a mystery, but that power is already here. And in the old Indian way, we had nothing written, but life was understood in observation and experience. It was about the respect of the sources of life. See, today they call them resources. But in the Dakota way, the Dakota perspective, we call them the sources of life. For there is a teaching that they bring forth. This knowledge is not hidden, but it is there. If we take the time to look, if you take the time to stand outside and against the ways of man. Remember this first. You are a creature of creation. Before you are the name, before you are the woman, before you are the man, before you are your job, before you are your income, before you are your degrees. You are a creature of the creation, and that is first. And that is the way you came in, and that is the way you will go. For it is often said that it is not just the moments of life that we are judged by, but it is the entire life that is looked at. For it is the entire life that makes the mark again upon the earth. You see, the mark is our journey. Wherever we go, wherever we grow, our footprints, our energy makes a mark upon the earth. In that mark, the memory of us in this time is woven into that. Whether that mark brought forth life or whether it destroyed it will be the place of that energy. And so they ask us, how is it that the Indian people, the descendants of the original tribal people of this land, have always been here? It's because the ways of those marks represented balance. And it brought forth the teachings of how to conduct one's life. And there it was embodied by the child that was raised in the home, and how that child practiced and exercised that philosophy as they grew into a full-grown adult. So the marks were similar, and they were simple. So that built the energy throughout the generations, throughout time. An example of this mark could be the time of when we hunted the buffalo. Not everyone among our people got to hunt the buffalo. They were selected young men and young women. But in the course of that, they could lose their life because the bison was very dangerous. So in the time of our people, we honored that source of life, the buffalo. So when a young man or a young woman was selected to go upon that hunt, they were painted and they were adorned in their finest clothing. And it was said that the mothers and grandmothers would cry, for it may have been the last time that they seen them. But they knew it was necessary to provide for the life of the people. And so that created bond. That created respect for our food, for our energy. Today, we have so many intensifiers. We worry about the time, the schedule. We worry about our bills. These things, they build up on us. We worry about the judgment of others. These are intensifiers. While at one time, the intensifiers were less, but they were greatly intensified, such as this hunt. So, there is a key there to the health, to the mental wellness that we are all talking about and representing among our organizations. So it begins by respecting the little things in your life, and you grow from them. We know we have to be patient when to harvest certain plants, certain trees for our need, for that is an instruction given to us long ago. And much of this lives just among the people and has never been written. But we live in a time now where we feel some things need to be shared, which is why we are bringing forth our energy, and our voice to unify people of all nationalities, of all ways of prayer. And so, therefore, that represents the nature, that represents the plants, because the nature created diversity. The nature created many trees. The nature created many medicines. The nature created many people. So the nature is our example. How we choose to embody that will help us solve a lot of these issues and problems that we feel we have today, that we are all sharing in this reality in this country. So, if they can do it, we can too. But we need them also. Again, everything has a place, and we must allow for that to be. The human habitat has expanded, and the human has called his habitat cities, has called his habitat states, productions, countries, kingdoms. But the human's habitat has a place. And now, since we have infiltrated the space and the homes of other creation, we have to open that back up for the airways and for the health to come and to move and to be again. We don't have to change the whole operation, but we can look at spaces and places that can be allowed for them. Because in the Dakota way, they were our first teachers. They taught us how to live, how to be. Again, everything comes from them. Which is why the communication is still there. Because we still practice within our homes and amongst our peoples. For a long time, 1883 to 1978, to be who we are was illegal. It was outlawed by the laws of this nation due to what they called the Code of Indian Offenses, which brought forth fear and struck into the hearts of our grandmas and grandpas. But today, we are picking up what fell out of that bundle in that time. We are going back. And we do not know everything. But with trust, those teachings are coming forth in a great manner and in a great way. And so it is a way. It is not the way, but it is a way. And that is what we wanted to bring forth to our community here. Because we are of community. Whatever happens here affects all of us. It doesn't just affect this group, this organization, that organization. It affects all of us. Remember that the power is in us to determine how we want this community to be. The same way that the plants communicate to the trees for their space, the trees to the deer, and the deer to the wolves. There is a communication. And so, if you can see it, there's a map of placement already. You take the time to look, to see. And so, That's all I have to share today. If you guys have any questions, feel free.
Question? Anybody got any questions? We have about 5 minutes before the next speaker, Chef Nazim, does his cooking demo. But we have this opportunity here to ask questions from the message that you have just heard. So feel free. Right here. Yes.
Thank you for the speech. I really enjoyed that, especially about the nature. So I come from a religion, Yazidis, and we're now here 5,000 people, and one of our belief is in the nature. So we directly pray to God. We don't have any prophets, so we believe in God, but we believe in nature, and it gives us signs of how we can live. So I really appreciate sharing that. Thank you so much.
Your men, they wear their hair like this? Instead. I know things. Instead. Good one.
I have an extra mic. Any questions, comments? Yes.
Please help us to understand your speech. How does your speech inspire the people who work in this building?
The highest human act is to inspire. It's to encourage. It's to encourage a system, a relational value system, rather than a numerical value system. The numerical value system is based upon the measurables, but the relational value system is based upon nourishment and time given and invested into the growth of one another. All organizations here, whether they're new with our young indigenous relatives, whether they're individuals who have been active in the community, whether it is organizations that help people to heal and to stay mobile with their heart here, all support the condition of life. It is no different, because in truth, we all need the same things to live. Remember when you were a child, there's a child here. The breath of life is the first. Then it is the warmth. Then it is the water. Then it is movement. Then it is food, the medicine, when you need it. And the relationship to creation, to each other. And the human has been given these things to navigate and to sustain and support their life. It's simple. So, all organizations work to support that. Now today, the human with the intelligence has created tools. So those organizations create the tools to support one another for the need that arises. So I see it as all the same. It really is all the same. The conflict, there's a conflict of control. We see in the Dakota way of life, we do not believe, or we do not look for possessions. For possessions mean you own life. And that is a representation of slavery. But in the Lakota way of life, life is borrowed and life is shared with one another. But the only thing that remains, again, is how we are remembered by each other. That's the only thing that remains of the essence of the human. So we have to look in that way and in that manner. And I think that will help us understand how to move together and to support one another based upon the values and the necessities of life, not the desires or the wants. So.
Thank you so much, American Indians.
And the reason and I'll tell you the reason why we use American Indian. There's over 371 treaties made between the United States government and the American Indian tribes. Within those treaties, there's two terms we're identified as, the American Indians and the tribes. So, because of the United States Constitution, Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution states that the treaties are the supreme law of the land. It's in there. So we use that terminology to be identified with the government. Otherwise, I think it's best to say that we are just the descendants of the original tribal people of this land.
Berry is an antioxidant, very good for the bloodstream, very good to support your overall system, very natural. I recommend it for your health, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual.